Hey everyone, I've got a video today. I want to react to Jake because he's got some news from a place that kind of matters to me. Um, but let's get into that, and then maybe I'll tell you a story at the end. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do it in English or German, so maybe I'll get there.
Two stories came up back to back together. 22-year-old German student randomly stabbed to death by Afghan migrant. The parents of a 22-year-old university student, Marius Dick, who was stabbed to death by a 22-year-old Afghan migrant identified as Sajad M. in Trier, Germany, are calling for political action. Won't go anywhere. They no longer feel safe and want to prevent another family from suffering the same tragedy. Yeah, that's what the mother of Louis wanted, right? Do you remember that? Remember Louis, the French 17-year-old boy that was beaten to death by a bunch of North African migrants? Isn't that f***ed up? Yeah, here's another one. Add this to the pile. According to police, Marius was a random victim, as it always is. As it always is. It's always completely random because we don't know Afghan migrants, okay? We're not first name basis with Ahmed, right? We don't know these people. They just go out with violence in their minds and just wait until they get someone's eye contact. Oh, that's a bright sweater. I'm just gonna follow them and kill them eventually. They literally spot you and then they're like, you're my victim. You're my victim today. You're my victim. And they won't fuck off. It's like you, and then you can't get rid of them. It's always random. They literally they grab their machetes, they grab their knives, they walk out into these beautiful European cities, and they just look around, and they wait for someone to give them eye contact, and they're like, you, and then they kill you. So here's another one. He had just finished shopping and was walking home when the suspect attacked him with a kitchen knife, stabbing him at least twice in the upper body. Despite immediate resuscitation efforts, he later died in hospital. This guy was just out shopping. Do you think when this guy got dressed in the morning and he put on his clothes and he ate his breakfast and he said goodbye to whoever he's living with and he made his way to the shopping center, do you think at any point he was like, I could die today? No, we don't expect it. You know, we're supposed to be living in these affluent, advanced European white civilizations, and instead you're being randomly knifed to death by a guy you don't know because they are here to invade. They are invaders, and their reason for existing on these lands is to do that. It is so unbelievably consistent, it's so unbelievably frequent that mainstream media won't even report on it. It happens so often, so frequently, and they are constantly the perpetrators that mainstream media literally won't report on it. If mainstream media actually reported on every single one of these scenarios as they happened, there would be outrage throughout Europe. Mainstream media is complicit in not allowing the general public to know what is happening. The amount of stories, the amount of murders at the hands of migrants that we know of because of social media, because of X, is absolutely outrageous. That we have to go through social media to
Yeah, I just kind of want to, just a little pause. Um, the fact matter is that I hear more about Europe and England. Well, England and Europe are the same kind of, but the countries over there from Jake and everything else, and I mean, I'm even subscribed to stuff on X that should get me some news, but it doesn't, and it's so bad. And actually, England seems to be able to spread it a little bit more, but in like Germany, for instance, where this is taking place, like if I wanted to hear about a majority not a majority, but even a sliver of these things, I would have to be subscribed to almost every newspaper because it doesn't even leave the city area to the next one over because they like try to not let people hear about it.
learn what the fuck is actually happening in the world. There are people that don't use X, which is a lot of people in the UK. I would say the vast majority of people in the UK do not use X, okay? They occasionally use Facebook, and that's it. They're not aware of this. They don't know about the migrant gangs. They don't know about it. They don't know about the gangs. Mainstream media just hasn't told anyone about it. They don't know about all of these terrorists from the Middle East that are being allowed into the country. They don't know about this. They don't know about Henry Novak. They don't know about the amount of immigration into the UK. They don't know about Border Patrol bringing them in and making sure they make it to shore safely. They don't know about the millions of pounds that are going towards the neighborhoods to keep them nice and safe while the rest of us get stabbed. They don't know about Stephen Ogilvy. They don't know. They know nothing. The mainstream media is responsible for keeping people ignorant of what is actually happening. So whenever they, the general public, are exposed to people like me because they've not been shown that there's a massive problem, well, we're just bigots and racists. We're unnecessarily hateful. Where is this coming from? Why is he talking about that kind of stuff? It's getting so bad now that these people, the proles, as Orwell referred to them as, even they in their streets can see this is happening because the frequency is so high. They're actually seeing it happen in the streets. Police say the suspect and victim did not know each other. Again, Marius's mother, Elk Dick, said something like this should never happen to any mother. She spent the first night after his death in her son's room to feel close to him. Together with her husband, Thomas, she has joined the criminal proceedings as a civil party, saying, "We will be present at the trial. We owe that to Marius." Fun fact, the Afghan migrant that stabbed Wayne Broadhurst to death for absolutely no reason. Also another situation where Wayne Broadhurst did not know his murderer. Sorry, his manslaughterer. Didn't know him. Didn't know the Afghan. The Afghan just saw a guy walking his dog and was like, "You!" Stabbed him to death. So you guys know that he was given a manslaughter charge for murdering Wayne Broadhurst. Okay, so whenever this Afghan guy started his rampage that ultimately ended with him stabbing Wayne Broadhurst to death, it started with him attacking his Afghan landlord with a knife. Not killing him, just attacking him with the knife, okay? He injured an Afghan migrant landlord who owned the building that this Afghan migrant was living in, okay? He attacked him with a knife. Do you know what happened in court about that? That's right. He was found guilty, and I can't believe that. I don't even know how this makes any sense whatsoever. He was found guilty of attempted murder. What? What the? So him stabbing Wayne Broadhurst, a white guy, to death was manslaughter. Him wounding his Afghan landlord, his Muslim landlord, with a knife was attempted murder. So if he had killed the landlord, it would have been murder. Chris, thank you so much for the 50.
And the influencers don't understand that their way of life is toast if they keep bringing these people in. These Joy Core channels, who are mostly liberal, have no idea. It's sickening.
Yeah, all these, goddamn Chris, thank you so much for the 50. All these people that want to maintain this, like, oh, I don't like to get into politics. I just want to kind of keep it, you know, neutral. And two things. One, as long as you remain non-political, the problem will persist. And two, by keeping it neutral, you are still a fascist as far as leftists go, okay? Leftism demands that you are on their side. Someone who is not strictly left or right and wants to remain neutral is a as we know. Look, I get it. There's so much to learn, okay?
Yeah, I agree. And actually, this is kind of why I got into YouTube, is because silence is just as bad as inaction, silence, whatever, is just as bad as um not or actually agreeing with the problem, like actually not making the problem, because if you don't try to speak out against it, it's just going to continue, and that means that I guess it's just as much as like what an enabling or whatever you want to call it.
There's so much to find out about, and this stuff sucks, okay? You think I like sitting here reading about more white murder at the like completely random, unprovoked attack? This guy had zero chance of surviving. Zero chance. Unless this guy lived every single day of his life waiting for a random attack from an Afghan, there was no way this guy was gonna survive. There was nothing he could have done. He's not allowed to own a gun. He's not allowed to walk around with a knife. He's not allowed to walk around with pepper spray. He can't walk around with a weapon. Okay? So the most he can do is wake up, like every one of us in Europe, and walk around and hope we don't get murdered. This shit sucks to read. Being the person in real life that knows about all this sick, awful, disgusting shit that nothing ever gets done about sucks. But you have to engage with it. We are living in a Europe that is totally invaded. And it's invaded by a culture that despises us at a religious level. At a spiritual level, they hate us. And they're here for free cash. They're here for free food. They're here for free housing. They're here for all the free shit. okay? They're here for the government that lets them get away with everything, that doesn't stone them to death for adultery or drinking or murder or theft. They're here for the
Mm.
free ride, for the lenient law system. They're here for the cattle, the idiot white people that just shuffle around, completely oblivious that we're all potential victims. That's why they're here. And we as Europeans are walking around blissfully unaware that they're here to do damage. And at any point, you could be randomly stabbed to death by a guy you don't know and probably didn't even see coming because he came up behind you. All the while, our weapon laws, our self-defense laws, have not been updated in like 70 years. So even though the safety of our streets has changed drastically in the last 20, our self-defense laws, our weapon laws, have not changed in like 65 years, 70 years. Carrying pepper spray, illegal. Carrying a knife, illegal. Carrying a gun, super de duper illegal. We are sitting duck. We are soft, squishy targets with absolutely no way to defend ourselves. And they know it. They know this. There is no legal way for us to defend ourselves with a weapon. We can't even carry a weapon. Even carrying one with the intent of self-defense is enough to land you in prison for 4 years. You don't think your life is up in 4 years? The debt that you'll rack up in 4 years, your credit scores in the toilet, you've got a criminal record, you're an ex-con, your friends have moved on, your wife or girlfriend has probably moved on. You have to start like trying to rent a place as an ex-con. People are like, well, 4 years isn't so bad just to defend yourself. 4 years? That's inside. The amount of damage it does to your life lasts longer than 4 years. Trying to get your life back on track after just 4 years? We're walking around as soft, squishy targets that can be stabbed to death at any moment by an imported bioweapon. There's nothing we can do. Even if this guy saw the Afghan running at him and he ran away, or he tried to run away. We've seen how the police reacted. There was a video clip we watched recently from Scotland of a bunch of guys being approached by migrants with machetes, and they tried to flag the police down, being like, "Hey, these guys have machetes. They're gonna kill." And the police just drove on as intended. That's exactly what we want. Good. They're coming at you with machetes. Great. That's why they're here. The family is demanding real solutions so that something like this never happens again. This, and I hate to break your hearts about it, and I say this every time this happens, this is going to happen again. There will be another European white man on this screen and me talking about him being randomly stabbed to death. This is going to happen again. There is another white European man or woman walking around out there right now, not knowing that they're about to be randomly, savagely, brutally stabbed to death for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and there's nothing they can do about it. It's going to happen again. Marius had just completed his final history exam and was about to graduate from University of Trier with a bachelor's degree before beginning a master's program in military history in Potsdam. The Afghan suspect fled after the attack, but was arrested a short time later. He has admitted carrying out the stabbing, but has otherwise remained silent. A court has ordered his placement in a secure forensic psychiatric hospital. A psychiatric hospital. Because we're constantly confused as to their mental state. We're like, why are these? There's so many of them are psychotic. No, that's just how they are. That's indoctrinated Islam, okay? They turn out nuts. Comparative to white Europeans, yes, they do seem like they're going through some very serious psychiatric problems, but that's actually just how they are as a culture. It's like, wow, this guy just went nuts. He's just not in control of his actions. He doesn't know what's going on. We have to get him into, yeah, if this was a white guy, sure, yeah, you put him into some sort of psychiatric institution, they're gonna be like, yeah, this guy's brain's fucked up. This is just how they are. They're all like this. Like, wow, yeah, he doesn't know what's going on. He's barely talking. He's a barely verbal, violent brown. Barely verbal. The only thing they know how to do is just stab. They're animals. This low IQ, low impulse control, religious hatred that they carry with them. Not only are their women ugly as shit, but they also cover them from head to toe with sheets. They can't drink, they can't read, they can't play music, they can't listen to music. How the do you think these people were gonna turn out? You indoctrinate a child with Islamism, with the Muslim faith, they're gonna turn out I can only imagine the futility, like the despair that these parents are feeling, that there's nothing they can do to stop this from happening again. Yes, he's been placed into a secure forensic psychiatric hospital after investigators said there are indicators he suffers from mental illness. How many times?
Yeah, it's always mental illness, isn't it? I don't know. The I've heard this so many times, and I'm sure he's about to say this too, but um, I don't understand like how. I mean, well, I do understand it. It's kind of just them trying to cover it up, I guess. But um, they don't act like we. So they think that they're mentally dysfunctional because they don't act like the rest of the population, but that's just because they're not like the rest of the population. So it's literally we're trying to apply Western thought pattern to other people's thought pattern. Like it, if you would go to, for instance, like Japan or China or wherever, they would have a different function than we do too. So, you know, we would say, "Oh, that's insane." They wouldn't, that we don't do it that way. So that's insane. So I don't know.
Have we read this? The Afghan migrant that just murdered Wayne Broadhurst. It's the same. It's the same word. It's the same wordage, isn't it? It's the same description. Exactly the same. Oh, he's got mental issues. How are we letting so many unvetted migrants into the country? If so many of them that are coming over seem to have a consistent affliction of mental illness, why are we not checking this? When are they going to figure out that Islamism is a mental illness? When are they going to figure that out? Again, it's like, yeah, it's the exact same phrasing. He suffers from mental illness that may have impaired his criminal responsibility. So yeah, he's allowed in the country. He's allowed to go insane, right? This brown clown gets to go out with a knife and just stab someone to death. And then the country that he did it in, the government, will see him as not fully criminally responsible for his actions. Do you know if they did that in Afghanistan, if they did this in Pakistan, if they did this in Lebanon or Yemen or any of these other places, they'd be hanged. They'd be killed by the state. They'd be like, you and they'd hang him from a tree. Over here, what do? We baby them. Oh, we put them through the psychiatric process. We need to figure out, let's ponder this brown clown. Let me ponder him for a bit. Allow me to ponder the brown clown. What's going on inside that dome of yours? Because me as a white person could never do that. So there must be something going on in your brain. No, they're just culturally there's nothing you can do to fix it. There's not something in there that we don't understand. That's just the culture. Don't ponder the that is just them. I need to find out why this brown clown randomly plunged a knife into this random guy for no reason whatsoever. There must be something going on inside his brain. Actually, it's the complete opposite, actually. These low IQ dipshit they live their lives in like 10-minute increments. They have no idea how to think, right? They don't think to themselves, oh, actually, if I immediately act upon this violent urge that I have, I'll go to prison and there's no more freedom then. They don't think like that. They just think, this will be good right now. This will be good right now. This will be good right now. That's what they think. They just impulsively do stuff. They're like, oh, this is super fun being arrested. Oh, what the fuck? Cool. So these parents have lost their son, their smart, educated son, their hardworking son, who was just going out shopping and was looking forward to the rest of his life of being a historian. He's randomly, unprovoked, killed, murdered, stabbed to death, savagely, violently, for absolutely no reason. Like he's living in a war-torn country, but he's not. He's actually just living in Germany. And the parents are hoping for some sort of regime change where all of these bioweapons go home. Meanwhile, the court is even deciding if they should hold this guy accountable. Hell, the parents are like, right, let's make sure this never happens again. What can we do? Let's start brainstorming. The court, the justice system is like, right, well, what are you guys thinking about that? We're sort of questioning whether or not we should even hold this guy accountable for what he just did. Insane! Like, what the fuck? What do you mean? He woke up and was like, well, I'm gonna get the knife and just head into town and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Gets the knife, puts it in his jacket like they all do, and he just heads out into town, waiting for the first guy that catches his eye. A colorful t-shirt, a funny hairdo, a weird walk, a tattoo, something that catches their attention. Like a animal. Waited for it, boom, stabbed him to death for absolutely no reason, and then runs away because, again, they live their lives in 10-minute increments. They don't think about what's happening after the murder. They don't think about that. It's exactly the same thing as that Carmelo Anthony shit. He just wanted to stab a kid, right? That's that murderous intent that they're all born with. He just wanted to kill someone. He didn't think what would happen after that. So they do it and they're like, yeah! Oh shit. Oh, that's right. The police. And this is gonna happen again. And it did. Actually, right here. She's also dead. That's right. Another blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl. We've got another Anglo-Saxon woman dead. Dead, actually. Pretty sure. Her name was Liana. She was 16 years old, a Ukrainian refugee living in Germany again. She was walking home from her apprenticeship, right? Another educated, smart, white person. She was walking home from her apprenticeship when a migrant began sexually harassing her. Terrified, Liana called her grandfather for help, telling him that a migrant was chasing her and sexually assaulting her. Her grandfather heard her scream. Then silence. He never saw her again. Authorities later told her parents she had been hit by a train. Suicide. Case closed. It looked like a cover-up, but her family refused to give up. With strong pressure from the AFD demanding a real investigation, the truth finally emerged. Liana was murdered. She was deliberately pushed onto the tracks by an Iraqi migrant. The man was identified and arrested, but the outrage didn't stop there. He had an active deportation order since January 2025 that was never carried out. That's
a whole freaking year. Man, what's wrong with you, Germany? I mean, if you're gonna actually order a deportation, then do it. Do it. I mean, if you actually make a ruling, do it. Like like any normal. I don't know. I shouldn't say that because I'm sure there's the same problem here, but if the judicial system actually said go and get him out, do it.
frequent thing as well. That's another frequent reoccurrence, is that they have been ordered to be deported and they're just still here. They're just hanging out. Like the Afghan that stabbed Wayne Broadhurst to death. He was allowed to live in the UK for 2 years illegally while they deliberated on his asylum. He was allowed to stay here. It gets worse. Liana's mother knew there would be no real justice, and she was right. A German court has now ruled that the Iraqi migrant who killed her will serve no prison time, claiming he suffers from mental health issues. He will instead stay in a comfortable psychiatric facility paid for by German taxpayers. We are once again being shown a very familiar course of events here. A legal migrant gets to roam around doing whatever the fuck they want. Sees the rarest demographic on earth, a beautiful blonde girl. He gasps, "Oh my god, I've never seen one of these in real life. Let me murder it." They don't know how to control themselves. The lust is too much. They are monsters. In their inability to control themselves, they murder her. And because to the sophisticated European, the low brain function of an Afghan migrant, of an Iraqi immigrant, is so perplexing, we instead have to try and find out what is actually mentally wrong with these people, because we don't seem to understand. Comparative to white Europeans, this guy is having some real mental problems. It turns out that's actually just them. As a culture, that's just who they are. These are back-to-back stories. The exact same outcome, the same perpetrators, the same victims. Yeah, court records and German media confirm the perpetrator had a rejected asylum application. And again, another schizophrenia diagnosis in Italy. And this was a few weeks ago. In Italy, there was a migrant man, an Afghan, I think maybe Afghan or some sort of Muslim migrant. He drove his car through onto the sidewalk and mowed down a bunch of people and smashed the legs off a white Italian woman. Okay? And they pulled him out of the car, and he was screaming about being detained because he had a knife on him and he was going to continue to knife people further. He got out of his car after mowing down a bunch of people on the sidewalk, and I did a stream about this. If you guys have a membership, you can go watch it. He gets out of his car with a knife after mowing down a bunch of nice white Italian people. He gets out of his car with a knife and intends to continue attacking people. He's then pinned down by police and passersby, and he's because he wants to continue his rampage. In the Italian media, he was then described as having schizophrenia. Now, why the does there seem to be a continuous trend of schizophrenic migrants coming from the Middle East, all acting on their mental health issues by stabbing and massacring people? This is a constant occurrence. It never ends. Migrant comes in, is told to f off. They're like, nah, you don't enforce that, so why should I? They then grab a knife, go into town, stab a couple of people. European government are just kind of like, wow, this guy's like up in the head or some shit. Yeah, comparative to white people, it might seem like he's psychotic. That's actually just them. That's how they are. If you go to the Middle East, they're all like that. That's why their law is, if you do something stupid, we will kill you, because violence is the only thing they understand. If you go to the Middle East, their laws are, if you do any of this shit that you're doing in Europe, we will sling you over a tree branch and you'll be hanged. You'll be shot. You'll be stabbed. You'll be stoned to death. Prison for life. In a sweltering hot, sweaty prison where you'll be beaten, hard labor, all this kind of shit, right? The only thing they understand is violence in return. So that's why they don't do it. That's also why they're coming here, because we don't have that. We allow them to get away with everything. They get 3 or 4 square meals a day in these psychiatric hospitals. They get to watch TV. They get a nice comfy bed. So much better than committing crimes in my own country. So much better. I got to and stab a blonde girl. Wait until the lads back home hear about this. I found a blonde girl and I stabbed her. Yay! They'll be so impressed. There's not a mental health issue. There are plenty of people in the UK. There's a lot of white Europeans that have schizophrenia, and they're not going out with kitchen knives and stabbing people unprovoked. They're not doing this. Do you know what the defining factor is? Do you know what the difference is? White European with schizophrenia, Middle Eastern guy with schizophrenia. Only one of these two is gonna go out for a random massacre. Only one. Yes. No wonder they're coming here, man. I've said this before. Europe is Pleasure Island. It is. It's Pleasure Island. Like, you know, from Pinocchio or whatever, where they all turn into jackasses, except we're the jackasses. You have all of these globalist, Marxist politicians, these leftist morons, been like, yeah, diverse, come on over. Culturally enrich us with your really high frequency of schizophrenia and low IQ. IQ so low, it's actually troubling. IQ so low that we put you through our psychiatric
IQ so low we have to study it. We must figure it out. I don't know.
processing to figure out what's wrong with you, because there's no way someone is able to live with this lower brain function. There's no way. They're animals. They are opportunistic, predatory animals. They're here for one reason only, and that is to take over. It's to invade.
Wow. Well, yeah. Um, let's. I don't know. Is it story time? I think it's story time. Um. So, gosh, I want to actually do this in German, but I don't think I don't think I'm good enough at that anymore. Um. So about 20 years ago, I'd say. Um. Okay. Let me try to justify my story here. Um. So I don't understand why Germans put up with what they're putting up with, because my experience in my lifetime is that well, Germans have they have a proud history. They are kind of proud people sometimes, and um, also, like, I don't remember Germans ever really putting up with bull crap that much. I mean, being nice to a certain extent, yes, but not putting up with stuff. So my story, because this has happened to me in my lifetime, about 20 years ago. So this is pre crazy immigration and all this stuff. I mean, we had there were Turks, Turkai, but not Syrians and all these other ones. So I remember I was uh, visiting family over in Germany with my mother, and on a Sunday, I remember because I was dressed really nice, and if I remember right, what I did is I decided that I would go to church, and then I would go after that. Well, I decided that I would actually go to church because I mean, by then I tended not to go to church all the time, but my grandfather asked me to go to church with him, and so I did. And then, of course, we would go to the guest house or local restaurant, basically. It's over there. It's called a Gasthof, um, and where you would go after church and have um, lunch, pretty much, with the local. local people after church, and of course, I mean, I knew quite a few people from you know that village, or um, as we call it, the kof I we lived in, and so you know going to church and going to guest hof. I mean, I know people, but obviously my mom's going to sit there and catch up with, the all the people and the relatives and whoever else we haven't seen in a long time, or and specifically she hasn't seen in a very long time because she's been living in the U.S. with us for that time, and I decided, okay, well, I'm done eating lunch. I've caught up with the people that I caught up with. I don't really talk to too many people because my German, still to this day, isn't that good. And by all means and respect, it's because I mean, I'm not formally taught. I didn't go to school for it. Everything I know in German is um, through speaking to family, and I'm well out of practice now. But I understand German quite well. So I decided I'm gonna go home, go back to our apartment that we have, and um, on the way there, I got uh, uh, a, a guy on a motorcycle with his girlfriend and or I don't know, wife. He would have been old enough where it could have been his wife by then. Um, Pulled up and asked where the bakery is. Um, Wo ist das Bäckerei? And of course, because I understand, but it takes me a while to compose a sentence in German. So it took me a second, and I said, "Okay, well, you know, it's a few streets down and on the right if you go in that direction." Um, and of course, obviously, slow composition, spoke it very slowly. He could tell that I was not German, and see, this is where I don't understand why they're putting up with all these foreigners at this point, with all their bad tendencies as well. Because when he pulled away, um, he said something where he probably thought I wouldn't have understood it, um, uh, and he basically said, "You shitty American, du scheiß Amerikaner," or I can't say it right because if I'm kind of nervous even saying it because I don't want to say it incorrectly. I feel pitiful not being able to speak German well. Um, mm, Du scheiß Amerikaner. Uh, uh, Usually they shorten it to Army or Ame because they're used to having American military men there in the area, I should say. But he actually said American. How can you hate Americans so much but not hate those people? I don't know. And kind of my that's kind of my story because this is I just don't understand how in 20 years ago you could you know diss or whatever an American who probably and if an American of German descent because I actually tried to speak German and I didn't try to not speak German and I didn't try to do um, anything to offend him, and now it's just let let ourselves be trampled over by all these things. So I mean that's kind of my story or my little tie into this story because I just thought about it while watching this and continuing to hear about stuff and so I mean I guess that's me posing a question with a story is like how can Germans be allowing this when you're going to sit here and pretty much diss somebody who was trying their best to even accommodate the fact that they're in Germany and trying to be good. I mean, you know, I'm dressed nicely. I just got out of church. I just got done with. I mean, he wasn't necessarily local, obviously, but um, it's just ridiculous that it's fallen so far to where, you know, where you, where Germans as a whole bend over and take it, as I'll call it, and then back 20 years, you would. I mean, obviously, probably. I can't even remember. I was not technically an adult yet. I don't believe when that happened. I want to say I was maybe 16, maybe 18. Maybe I just got out of high school. Um, because it was summertime, so that means that I would have been over there for vacation during summer vacations. Long story, but whatever. Um, I don't know. I just don't understand, and it kind of makes me sad that 20 years ago, or Germans, um, sued an American trying to do their very best to even inter, do what you're supposed to when you're in a different country versus now you just hand money over to these asylum seekers and um, are willing to be possibly stabbed or pushed in front of a train or and don't even speak up, don't even say anything, don't do nothing about it, just continue on and I don't know. So that's the story. I really should go and try to practice some German, find someone to speak with in German. But anyway, you guys have a good night.